Hello, this is Elaine from Antelope Bees, and once again I apologize. I started this video on the wrong site, so we are just going to start over again. So today we are doing round Kumihimo, and we are going to be using the Kumihimo disc from Beadsmith. A lot of you have done Kumihimo before. You're familiar with this disc. It's got all kinds of numbers around the edge, and going to be making a bracelet. For this project, I have got 4 strands of 1.5 millimeter leather, and they are about 36 inches long. Okay, hopefully I'm in the right place now. Someone please let me know if I'm in the right place. Okay, thank you. Somebody did. Yay. Okay. All right. So I've got these 4 strands of leather. And the first thing I'm going to do, because Kumihimo is an 8-strand braid, is I'm going to just fold them in half. There we go. And so now I've got a center here, and I've got 8 strands of leather. I can't really quite show this whole thing in one shot, but here's my center. So again, I started with 4 strands. This is 1.5 millimeter leather, and the strands I started with are about a yard long, 3 feet long, folding them in half, so I've got about 18 inches of leather. This is more than enough to make a bracelet. So to start, I want to get these strands attached to something so it's just a little bit more manageable. So I just ran them through, and I just used a 15 millimeter jump ring here. Okay, 15 millimeter jump ring. And then I'm just going to tie an overhand knot to just keep all this stuff together. This is totally not going to be part of the finished project. So here is this. Okay, so most Kumihimo directions spend a lot of time telling you to move from number to number, and all this kind of business. However, with the traditional method that the Japanese use, which is using a mirror die, if you can imagine, this is sitting on top, just on a wooden stand. You literally would go fold, 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 and just keep doing that over and over again. No numbers, there's nothing like this. So we are going to use this part of the disc with no numbers on it. A, it makes it a little bit easier to see the strands, and B, you don't need the numbers for this. Okay, so now I'm going to set up the strands, and I'm going to have 2 strands coming out each of the sort of 4 quadrants. And so maybe I'll put a dark blue one here and a couple of brown ones over here. And I'm going to show you some different ways to set up the disc, because every way you set up you know what, I think what I'm going to do, because I'm going to add beads to this, is I'm going to split the blues like this, and then I'll put maybe these 2 over here. Okay, so what I've got right now, and we'll see what this braid looks like, is I've got some dark brown strands, I've got a mixture of dark and light blue, and then I've got some dark blue strands, and then I'm actually going to be adding some beads to this project. Okay, and then I've got my little ring with the knot coming out of the inside there. You notice no bobbins, no weights, super easy to set up, and yeah, okay, so here we go. So this is just as easy as it gets. So you can start from either the top or the bottom, just sort of be consistent. So I'm going to take this strand, and I'm bringing it straight across and putting it up here, and then I immediately take the one on the other side and bring it down here. Okay, that's my start. Over here, same thing, bringing one strand down, and then I move right over to the next strand here, and bring it down here, okay? And I'm going to rotate this disc 45 degrees. Doesn't matter what direction. And here we go. Hello. I just want to say hello to everyone who's watching. Pammy, Sandy, Meek, Michelle. Thank you. I am so sorry that once again I started in the wrong place, so got a little bit of a delay here. But let me, and I'm going to try to go really, this is really easy, but it's just, if you've never done it before. So again, I'm bringing one strand straight across. I never cross the middle. Okay, and then I immediately come, because now I've got 3 strands up here, and pull the other one straight down. One more time here, well, several more times here. I'm going to bring this strand down, this strand across, rotate 90 degrees, and again I'm going to bring this strand down, and then I'm going right over to the strand right on the other side and bringing this down. Okay, so this is basically what the weave is. So down, up, or up and down, doesn't matter as long as you're consistent. Down, up. Okay, and you just keep going around like that. Now, you're going to ask yourself, what if I just put this down, I go to the bathroom, I answer the phone, how the heck am I going to know when I come back to this thing where I am? Okay, and so this is, I'm going to get this a little closer and let that camera refocus. Okay, this is, I think, one of the beautiful things about this, because you don't have to remember your numbers. You don't have to remember any of those things. So if you kind of look at this, let me just see if I can get all this out of the way so you can really get a good look at this. Okay. There. Is that going to work? A little bit down. Here we go. This is not looking quite as clear as I would like, but, well, yeah, here it is. Okay, so you see this one strand is crossing over the other 2 strands. It's right on top of the 2. And then the same thing on the opposite side. You see this strand is on top of the 2. Okay, so immediately, whatever strand is underneath is going to have to be the one to move. Okay, so I'm going to look for that X. It's right, I'm going to point it with my pliers here. It is right here, okay? And let me know if you cannot quite tell where this is, okay? And so I know that whatever strand is under that X is going to be the next one to come up. And then, of course, the one right up here is going to be the one to come down. Okay, coming over here, now I see my brown strand is on top. The blue strand is on top here. So in this case, I know I'm moving my 2 light blue strands up and over. Okay, let me know if that does not make sense to you, because I really want you to understand, and this is really clear here with the light blue strands. You see how they're laying on top of the others? So I know the strand that is right underneath that X is going to be the one to come back up again. Okay, now, so we could basically braid this whole thing and have a bracelet, but let's add some beads. And so once again, my favorite new beads, the little seed beads. These, I think I actually picked the colors for this leather based on the beads, and I just already know that these beads, these new seed beads, fit with no problem on the 1.5 millimeter leather. As I say that, the first one doesn't go on. There we go. There we go. It's a little bit tight, but, and again, you know, some of the leathers are just a little bit bigger than others, but I can just grab it even with my chain nose pliers and pull it up. And I'm just going to pull about, you know, 2 or 3 beads. Here's all my tricks to get leather to fit. First I pull it to kind of make it less wide, and I've already cut it to a point. Come on, baby. Okay. And again, these would all go, but I just don't want to spend your time messing with this. So here's a couple of beads. I don't really need more than a couple just to show you. If I was doing this for real, I would string probably 15 or 20 beads on each strand. You can always add more. You can take them off. Let's come over to the other side here. Again, I'm going to get my flush cutters. Cut this off to a point. Pull, 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 pull. And let's put this bead on. Okay, well, you guys, okay, this is only about the third project I've done with these beads, so you'd think if there was going to be a problem, I would have had it before now, but of course not. Come on, come on, come on. And I really want them on this light blue strand because I think they're going to show better than they would otherwise. Okay, come on, we just, oh, there we go. Okay, we got one. Pull this up. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, that these beads, you know, beads and leather, you know, you'd think they would be so exact, and they're not, even though they're manufactured. I just want 2 more beads on here. Here we go. Okay. I'll have all the time in the world when this is over to go and straighten this out. All right, come on. Everyone say the bead charm. Here we go. It's always good to see what the problems are going to be, I guess, but okay, I'm going to cut this off a little bit more because I think it's kind of bunching up here rather than, okay. You know, I may change my mind. Let's see if these will go on any easier on the brown leather. I really wanted them on the light leather, but, and sometimes the metallic leathers are also just a little bit thicker. You know, you guys are really not making me happy today. Okay, I'm going to go back to this, and I will cease and desist in just a minute. The other thing is I think you're going to be able to see this a little bit better with the lighter leather. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so here's my other trick is I've got it cut into a pretty fine point, but I can probably get in here with either the scissors, and now I've got it cut so that I've really got a chunk of it that is pointed here. So now this should go. Okay, there we go. Come on, baby. I'm going to get those chain nose pliers and pull this through. Boy. Come on. There we go. One. And I'm probably going to just stop right there. And like I said, I will finish this project. And of course, after I sit down, I'm not right here, it's going to go on with no problem. I think these beads are just particularly cute. I love the colors. They're a little bit of a maroon, light blue, dark blue, and they've also got like an AB finish on them. Here we go. Here we go. We got 2 beads on each side, and that will get us started. Here we go. Okay, so now I want to add beads. Okay, so I know my beads are on this light blue strand. So and that's the only time I'm going to add beads, obviously, is when I get to that point. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more rounds. So down and up, down and up. Okay, looking for that cross there. I know down and up. Now I'm to the point where I'm going to add the bead. So what I'll do is I'm going to slide 1 bead up, I'm going to slide it all the way up, and if you can see it, I have slid it so it is underneath that X. It's right underneath there. And then, so then when I fold this leather up, it kind of locks the bead in place. And you can see it a little bit. It's not quite 100% locked in, but as the braid continues, it will. So here's my other bead from the other side. Do. Come on there. Okay. Okay. And so I've got this bead. It's right underneath the brown strand there, and I fold it up. Okay, there we go. I'm going to do one more round of this, and then I'll show you what that will look like when we finish. So I've basically just put beads on two opposite sides. I could put beads on every strand. I could put it on 4 strands. I could, you know, all kinds of options. Okay, so I've done 3 rounds, and now I know I'm ready to add beads again. So I'm going to pull this bead up and push it right underneath that brown strand there. Okay, bring the other bead up, push it underneath that blue strand, fold it over. Okay, and then I just keep braiding until I get to the light blue strands again. I'm going to stop this project here, and I just want to show you what a bracelet looks like with beads on it. This is one with the darker blues and some lighter olive greens. I picked the olive green because it goes really well with the antique brass. And I just got some little beads on here, really simple, really subtle, and it just, you know, really adds a lot to the piece. So that is Kumihimo with beads, with seed beads. You can use jump rings. I've used jump rings. Those 3mm jump rings are great. I've used all kinds of different things, so it just doesn't, all kinds of beads. Okay, so I'm going to set this one aside, and then I started this one earlier, and I have this disc set up, and this is 1mm leather, okay, and I have 2 darker blue strands. I've got a sort of a medium brown, and then I've got some, and I think this is actually copper. This is bubble chain with antique copper, and I am going to set this up so this, now the bubble chain I have used, and let me show you this one. I have used chain in Kumihimo, and this is one of the, like, little more of a rope chain, a thicker chain. I use the chain just as one of the 8 strands, but this bubble chain is really fine, and I think it's going to disappear if I don't try to put it with something. So I'm going to go ahead and set this disc up. Here we go. I'm going to put this guy over here. So my chain is going to be with the light strands. Okay, so I've got the chain right in there with the light strand, and again, I don't need to really make sure I'm not crossed to begin with, but, and this is okay. This will work. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Okay, I'm going to pick any place to start, bring it straight across, okay. Then we have straight across this way, straight across, okay. This is, by the way, for kids, teenagers, even young kids, 7, 8 years old, can do this project and really be successful. And I always tell them, you know, when we're doing this, don't cross the streams. It's just like Ghostbusters. Don't cross the streams. Make sure that you're never taking a strand across the middle. It's really just coming straight over one side and then straight over to the other side. And all I'm doing is just braiding the chain right in with that leather strand. And this also goes to show you that your strands do not all have to be the same size. I mean, obviously the one with the chain is kind of a little bit bigger, okay, than the other two strands. Doesn't matter. So I just do this until it's as long as I want. Okay, and let me show you what that looks like. I have this piece that I was working on yesterday, and then this piece has in it some 1mm leather and some antique brass 1mm ball chain. This could be my new favorite thing. Love the way this looks. Okay, so here's my braid, and I pretty much used up all my leather. So now what do I do? Now we're going to actually look at finishing one of these pieces. Now, first of all, you look at this and say, man, this is awful short, you know, for a bracelet. But one of the things we always do with leather, Kumihimo, is as we get ready to work it, we just pull it out. Okay, there we go. Now I've got more than enough for a bracelet. There we go. And, you know, again, if I wanted a necklace, I'd just make it longer. So this is really, really quite a beautiful braid, and that chain just adds just a little bit to it. So the one I'm actually going to work on finishing is another one with 1.5mm leather, and this one I did braid with the bubble chain, silver bubble chain this time. And so here I go. So I'm going to just pull that braid, okay, just like that. There we go. So let's actually finish this one. Okay, here we go. And you can see that chain just adds a little bit of sparkle. It's really, really subtle, really nice. Okay, so and we're going to put this in notes somewhere, but in general, if you use 1mm leather, you're going to be using a 4mm clasp for end cap. If you are doing a, where's my other project down here? If you're doing my class disappeared. If you're using 1.5mm leather, you're probably going to be using a 6mm clasp. If you're using 2mm leather, you're probably going to be using an 8mm clasp. This piece is 2mm leather, and I'm going to show you actually something about this in just a second. And so I used an 8mm tiara cast end caps on this one. So, okay, so here we go. Now, so what I usually do before I even take it off the disc is I'm going to check it and glue one side into the leather. I'm going to use my favorite gel glue here, and I'm just going to kind of first of all eyeball it and say, even though there's some chain in there and it's a little bit thicker, I think it's probably going to go in there okay. So let's find out. Okay, so I'm going to be very brave here, and I am going to cut. Oh, there's my other 6mm clasp. Okay, it's stuck to the pliers. Okay, here we go. Got this right here, and I am going to cut it. I'm going to be very brave. I'm holding it with my fingers, okay? And this is another case where I'm going to first of all just sort of check this and see if I think it will go. And I think it might be a little ugly, but I think it's going to go. So we're going to go ahead and try that. So I am holding this, and I'm even going to let that little part of that little braid come apart, the part that's going to go in the clasp, because that actually will make it a little bit skinnier. And I'm holding it like this. And again, once again, my fingers are probably going to get covered with glue, and that's just the way it goes. So, okay, so trim those off so they're equal. Okay, and I'm going to take the cap off the glue. There we go. Cap is off the glue, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue inside the clasp. Okay, not too much, just a little bit. And then I'm going to put some on each one of those 8 ends. The chain is not really down there right now, so I'm probably going to end up sticking that in after the fact. So there we go. Okay, now let's see how this goes. Okay, so again, with this particular number of strands, I sort of start from the side and kind of scoop them in to the clasp. Boy, I'll tell you what, That, that could not have gone any better. There we go. The chain is in there. Chain is almost in there. A little bit of it is sticking out. So I'm just going to grab either my chain nose or round nose pliers and just stuff that in there. There we go. Look at that. Come on, baby. Okay. There. Okay, got one end done. Okay, now I would measure it, and if I'm going for like a, 7.5-inch bracelet, I would, sort of cut it to 7 inches. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm eyeballing this because, of course, I don't have my ruler here, but I think that looks like that's going to be a good size. So, once again, I'm going to be super brave, and I'm going to cut this. Okay, doop, there we go. I'm going to sort of unravel that end. Okay, trim off those little ends again. Okay, and glue inside the clasp. Okay, glue on each one of the little ends. Okay, and I'm going to kind of just go to the side and scoop those ends in. Okay, and if one of them doesn't go, I'm going to go back and stuff it in. I've got one escapee here. Sometimes this is easier when you take the clasp. And so that kind of came a little bit more unraveled than I'd like. So I'm just going to trim it off just a tad more. Okay, and then I'm going to, I'm going to scoop those ends in again. That looks like that's going to be a better shot here. I really should take the clasp apart at this point so there's no extra tension on that. And that is in there. So there is my little bracelet with a chain. Okay, so a couple other things I just want to show you really quickly. One is this project is done with 2mm leather and 2mm ball chain. One of the things I learned, and this really does look pretty cool. It looks a little Christmassy, but pretty cool. It's got those little extra little silver balls all through there. Is if you're using a larger chain like this, and you find that there's little loose spots in the chain, like right here. There we go. I can actually go in and use my pliers and just kind of snug up that chain. So if you're using this bigger ball chain and you find that the chain is a little bit loose, like it is down here at the bottom where I started, you can just really go in there with your pliers and snug it up. So that's a nice little technique there, and then you get this nice smooth finish here. This one I'm planning on using with this 8mm clasp right here. I think that's going to look pretty cool. So, okay, the last thing I want to show you, and this is kind of a crazy thing, but boy, when I started doing Kumihimo with leather, I wanted some slides on it. So, here's a Doorbeth slide that's meant for Regolese leather, and it's a little big for this round braid. And before I even start that, I just want to point out that what I've done here is I used 2mm leather for the browns, and then I used 2 strands of 1mm leather for the turquoise. So you can use multiple strands as well. So I want this slide on this bracelet. I think that this is going to look pretty cool. So now, Doorbeth is made out of pewter. Pewter is a pretty soft metal, and you can bend it and manipulate it. I have done actually some basic metalworking stuff with it. So what I can do is actually I can cut the shank. I'm going to just cut the shank. Okay, I am going to cut the shank. Come on, baby. I'm going to just I'm coming down off screen just because I wanted to put some pressure on that. There, I've got my shank is cut, just like that. Here we go. Okay, and I know I want it a little bit smaller, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut off maybe about I'm thinking about maybe 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just cutting off a piece of the shank. So I've already, totally distorted this piece, just kidding you, okay? So now I can put this slide right on the bracelet. I'm going to center it, okay? And it's just open. And then I can actually, just to start with, I can just use my fingers and press that shank right in place. And you're thinking, oh, that's not so cool. It will stay. I have made these for years, and this will stay put. Look at that. So now I've got a nice little slider on there. Now, there's all kinds. I mean, obviously, before I glued it, I could have added this slider. I mean, Antelope Beads has tons and tons and tons of sliders for all kinds of different projects. And so this is just, just because I particularly wanted the Doorbest slider on there. But, and obviously you're going to add the slider before you put on the end caps or the clasp. Okay, well that is what I have today, and I am so happy to see you. This is Kumihimo, makes great men's bracelets, makes great necklaces. This one is done with actually a 1/2 millimeter leather, and the leather just makes it really a wearable project. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Come visit us on Antelope Beads and see what else we've got going on, and we will see you in a couple of weeks with a new project. Thank you so much. Goodbye.